Blue Lock has a super goal problem, and the bubble is bound to burst soon. Ever since the Neo-Egoist League started, the idea of a super goal has been a parasite in the minds of these strikers, and I'm here to say that super goals will destroy Blue Lock. Okay, so this is a big statement, and I know, but this isn't clickbait. I truly believe it. This begs the question though, what is a super goal? By definition of the mangaka, a super goal is when a goal is scored that is one of a kind, unique to the scorer, and utilizes their own personal skill set, bursting through limitations. And okay, well, yeah, this makes sense. But then why is this going to kill Blue Lock? Well, I'm just about to tell you, so just wait a second, bro. Okay, this is important because of power creep. I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you know what power creep is, but just in case, power creep happens when characters or their use of skills keep getting stronger and stronger over time, just to keep things kind of more interesting or exciting. Relating this to another popular show like Naruto, for example, in the beginning of the show, all the ninja were weak. Even the Jonin, they didn't scale like the main characters did. But at one point in the final war, pretty much every ninja was Jonin level, and they could all put up a relative fight. It makes sense in a long-running story, and honestly, it's hard to prevent. Obviously, in 300 chapters, we shouldn't still be seeing the same level of play as in Chapter 1. But if you look at how fast we moved in the NEL, I could see power creep becoming a huge issue in Blue Lock's longevity. Firstly, I should mention, I'm not really worried about the players themselves getting stronger. That's expected. Just like with Naruto, for example, if Isuki was still facing Naru high-level players, we'd all be asleep. What I am worried about is power creep in terms of goal scoring. What do I mean by this? Since the NEL started, we have been flooded with what the author is coining super goals. But this makes sense because at this point in the series, with so many world-class players, any goal attempt that's not, in quotes, super, would be shut down with metavision anyway. Can you imagine if some fodder like Narutepe dribbled past one defender and scored a tap-in goal in the NEL? The backlash would be insane. The goal would feel cheap, and frankly, I'm still salty that Sendao stealing Baro's hat trick was a pathetic goal, but whatever, I guess we'll let that slide for now. To best illustrate the evolution of goals in Blue Lock, let's go back to the start. Let's take a look at when it was just Team Z versus the world. No super goals, no metavision, it was just Isuki talking the most with absolutely no skill to back it up. Let's look at some goals. Kunigami's greatest feat is just kicking a ball pretty hard from outside the box. Chikuri ran super fast and outpaced the whole team, and Isuki was just a midfielder who lucked his way into the second selection. At this point, the closest thing to a super goal was probably when Bachir dribbled through the entirety of Team V, or honestly pretty much any time Nagi touched the ball. Other than that, the goals were basic and uninteresting, but that's exactly how they were supposed to feel in order to create a realistic base layer for what average soccer gameplay is. We were never really supposed to jump out of our seats when Okawa scored a cherry-picking goal on a guy who had never played goalie before, and I'm sure that everybody knew his name was Okohito. Of course. With that being said though, it makes perfect sense why the quality of goals has increased as the series continued, but my worry is what will come out of the U20 World Cup and going forward. As we've seen from the NEL, there are so many amazing goals that could be considered for the best in the series. Rin's crash shot, Baro's double nutmeg, Isugi's two-gun volley, anything Kaiser did like his bicycle nutmeg or even his Magnus shot, and of course my personal pick for the best goal in the series so far, Nagi's 5-round volley. But even these insane goals are pushing the limits of what semi-realistic world Blue Lock is. So therein lies the basis of my worry. Blue Lock is set in a pretty realistic world, all things considered. There's no magic or powers, and it's pretty much just soccer. Even Metavision or Predator Eye are grounded in real ocular skills. But with how insane goals are getting, it only makes sense that even crazier goals will have to be made to surpass them. Think about it like this. We've seen Kaiser score in many different ways at many different levels of skill. His first goal was just a basic Kaiser impact. It's a good goal, and it set a nice base layer for what he could do, but 2 games later he's dribbling through 3 people and then doing a bicycle kick Kaiser impact that nutmegs Aiku for a goal. So now what if next time we see him in the U20 World Cup, he goes right back to using a basic Kaiser impact? The hype simply wouldn't be there. At this rate, he would have to do a scorpion kick impact, or a bicycle kick around the world's greatest defender just to surpass his previous goals. Both of which would honestly be awesome, but they just go to prove that in pursuit of hype, realistic skills are being thrown out the window. At a certain point, he's reached his peak. Once Kaiser finally does his Kaiser Impact Magnus Travella handball volley shot, there'll be no possible goal that he could make that could surpass that one. It'll get to a point where even an insane super goal will feel reused, and to fix this, the author will pretty much only double down and make something even crazier. Who knows, after turning the wind into his ally, maybe Kaiser's next shot will tear through gravity, or dimensions, or maybe even space-time. Clearly that's a joke, but the worry is real. Blue Lock will lose its charm, and if it strays too far away from real-life soccer. My favorite example of this is a character named Loki. I hate Loki. He is the worst thing to happen to power scaling the Blue Lock, because if he is really as fast as he's shown to be, he should be the world's greatest striker already, and there's nobody on the field who even stands a chance at touching the ball. Not even Noel Noah would have a chance, but I'll fully explain this in a minute. Go back to Kaiser because he's my favorite character. He has the quickest shooting motion and shot speed in the series with the Kaiser Impact. The Kaiser Impact Magnus is even more impressive because it retains the speed and power while granting him the ability to curve the shot into whatever corner he wants. So naturally, I feel cheated when Loki is able to run faster than the ball to catch up to it, when he's outside the box when the ball was kicked. Let me repeat that for those who weren't listening real quick. Kaiser, the guy who has the fastest shot speed in the series, takes a shot. It's going top bins, and Loki, who starts running after the ball was kicked, makes it to the goal before the ball and blocks the shot. He didn't have to predict anything. Isagi got fooled and Kaiser won, but plot armor saved the game, and Loki was able to block the shot. As I said, if it's possible to run that fast, he should already be the best in the world. Noah can't do that. Isagi can't think his way around that. It's cooked. He wins. He's genuinely too fast. Okay, whatever. Rant over. Kaiser should have scored there, but you can't tell me otherwise, but whatever. Rant over. Moving on. But going back to goals for a minute, I feel like I've already felt a taste of what it's going to be like when the first super goal is scored. When Isagi scored his final goal against PXG, I was originally a hater of the goal. I felt it was way too simple to be a game ender for the biggest game in the series so far. It was only when I realized that it was a parallel of Isagi's first impression of Kaiser that it all made sense. When Isagi first saw Kaiser play, he commented how Kaiser's movements were exactly what his own ideal movements were, except Kaiser's were even better. He commented that he didn't even know if he could achieve that level of greatness. But Isagi's Demon King goal is him surpassing even Kaiser's ideal movements, and at the same time besting Rin. That's a good goal, even if the shot itself was just a basic direct shot. But for a split second, when I saw Isagi score that goal, I was disappointed. I felt the exact feelings I was talking about, disappointment, because the goal didn't surpass the previous ones in my mind. The feeling didn't stick, but I think it was a microcosm for how people will react later in the manga. Either the goals get scaled down to keep the sanctity of real soccer alive, or they continue on this upward movement of absurdism and Blue Lock loses its magic. As I said before, I understand now, and although I stand by, Isagi should not have beat Kaiser in the NEL, new video coming out soon by the way, I like the goal. I like the goal for what it stands for. The writer has truly backed himself into a corner because if the goals aren't entirely new, then they're boring, and if they are new, then he's just gonna have to keep upping the stakes more and more each time until he eventually can't. Even Bunny's goal, you know, that one new Gen 11 that everyone's loving for some reason, it didn't really feel like a super goal. It was just described as one. All he did was dribble past like one guy and shoot the ball. I mean, it's certainly a goal, but definitely not a super one. I'm even taking something like Bachiro's B shot over this one. This isn't bunny hate though, I mean, we really haven't seen what he has to offer, but I don't think anyone would call this goal especially cool. This isn't even touching the topic of power creep and power up when it comes to people though. I mean, if you thought the PXG game was bad with how often they gave power ups on every single attack, I can only imagine how that will be in the U20 World Cup because of how many players they have to give power ups to, and how many games there are. I'm really excited for the World Cup, but I definitely do have my doubts for the future. So far, the author hasn't done anything too bad, so I'm holding out hope that they can do it again. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe, comment, like the video, do whatever you want to do. And if not, that's fine too. If you hated the video, let me know why down in the comments below too. I'm always open to critiques. And until next time, my name is dannyAkaFloppy. Peace.